Hello, I'm Dante Ferrigno, and this is Ferrigno Freedom channel. Welcome. If this is your first time here, this is probably not the best starting video for you if you're interested in knowing more about the carnivore diet. But if you are interested in knowing more about taking care of your teeth, this would be an important one for you. For those of you who have been watching my videos for several years now, or even for a few months, and you've gotten caught up on a few things, you might have heard me talk about how going on lion diet really changed things for my dental health. All my life, I have been bad at regular brushing and never used to floss. But once I got to, unless I needed to get something out between my teeth that was hurting, that was about it. I didn't make flossing a regular thing. And brushing, if I got it done in the morning, it was a good thing. But after that, it was very rare that I would do anything. And even taking medications, Lord knows, if I was one of those people that was like at the residence I used to care for when I ran a retirement home, where they had to take a medicine 3 times a day or even twice a day, I would never be able to maintain my routine because I always would miss the night dose or the morning dose or both in some cases. Maybe it's just me juggling too many things. Maybe it's just me being lazy. I don't know what it is, but I know a lot of people have the same issue. And I want to be able to talk about how the carnivore diet has done great things for my teeth, but I have mentioned many times how I don't brush regularly, and it's amazing how good my teeth feel, and also how good the dentist says my teeth are. There is something, though, that went undetected, and even with a visit to the dentist back in late December, it's May 2nd right now, so it's been literally 4 months since I got a crown put on and an old crown replaced. And there was no mention of anything being wrong the time I was there. However, over these 4 months, I've also been experiencing some difficulties that I haven't experienced in a long time. And one of the things I knew from working with people in a retirement home is infection can cause weird things to happen, especially up here, and especially in older people. I'm 51 years old. Doesn't make me old, but I'm older than I used to be, so things can happen. I don't know how long this has been going on because, like I said, the dentist missed it, but I haven't noticed any problems. I didn't notice any issues with my gums until just in the past few weeks, where I started to notice when I would bite down, it was hurting where one of my crowns were, and it was the crown, one of the crowns that they had put in. So I decided I need to go in and have them take a look at that and see if maybe there's some food getting caught up underneath there or something like that. But what they did is they did the full checkup to see how far the gums had receded and how much bone loss, if there was any, all of these things that they check into. And at first she was reading off my numbers. Everything was in the perfectly healthy area, except on the back of both sides were slightly on the receded area of the chart. So ultimately, I got diagnosed with mild periodontal disease, which is a gum disease, which is a step above gingivitis. I didn't know any of this until just a couple days ago. As a matter of fact, the video we're going to watch today, I'll be honest with you, I've already watched it, and I think it's the best one to sum up some of the things I want to convey to you with what I've learned in a short period of time, because I was fooled into thinking my mouth is fine because I only eat meat. I'm not eating any sugars or anything like that, although occasionally partaking in those. If I ever do, I always made sure to brush immediately after getting any sugar in my mouth. So I thought I was fine in that area. And the doctors kept telling me, the dentists kept telling me how good my teeth look, how strong my teeth are, how hard they are. I never used to get that when I would go to the dentist. I had many, many fillings, and I've got about 6 crowns right now from a lifetime of not doing great dental care. So I was excited when I started doing carnivore diet and realized, man, my teeth feel clean all the time. But I didn't realize that sugar was not the main enemy of your dental health. There are other things involved. But I don't want to steal the thunder of the video because I think Dr. Huberman does a great job of explaining it here. And I thought we would go through this and we could take a look at it. This video is called Neuroscientist Toothpaste is damaging your teeth, how to take care of your teeth. It's posted by a YouTube channel called Brain Mindset, and I'll put links for both in the description so that you can watch the original unedited. But be sure to check out Dr. Huberman's channel as well, because he's got tons of great information that's helped me over the years. So without any further ado, let's take a look at this video today.
No specific food, not even sugar, causes cavities. Strep mutans is not something you're born with. It's actually a communicable bacteria. It turns out that baking soda and water is actually a pretty good toothpaste if you're not going to go buy a toothpaste. Let's talk about how cavities form. As I mentioned before, cavities are literally holes. They're fenestrations, as the nerds call them, nerds like me. If they make it down to the dentin layer of the tooth, most likely do need to be drilled and filled and presumably built. All of our goal is to try and keep our teeth in a state of remineralization by keeping the pH, that is the relative acid-alkaline balance of the mouth, such that the saliva supports remineralization. No specific food, not even sugar, causes cavities. Cavities are caused by bacteria that feed on sugar, that then produce acid that burrows down through, that degrades, that demineralizes the tooth in this very focal area that we call a cavity. The bacteria, while there are several of them, the major one is called Streptococcus mutans, or what I'll call strep mutans for short. Strep mutans is not something you're born with. It's actually a communicable bacteria. That's right, you give it to one another. Most people in the world have strep mutans or will get strep mutans, and it lives in the mouth. When there's sugar present, it eats it, produces acid, the acid produces cavities, taking teeth from a state of remineralization to demineralization. If your mouth is already in a state that's more demineralization mode, it will capitalize on that and it will cause cavities much faster. Keep in mind that acidity is bad for the mouth. Does that mean that you should never consume a lemon or drink?
Real quick before we go on, the one thing I want to point out here is this is one of the reasons why on a carnivore diet I have had great results with my teeth when it comes to not eating any sugar. I'm not getting any cavities anymore because those strep mutans aren't creating that acid that eats into my teeth. But what is going on is possibly something that I wasn't aware of that has to do with pH. So this is where we get into the pH side of the argument, and we'll take a look at that.
Water with lemon in it, or carbonated drinks, or anything that has acidic flavor? No. Does that mean that if you were to have a zero carbohydrate diet, no sugars, no starches, etc., you would reduce the opportunity for strep mutans to consume sugar and release acid? Maybe. However, most people won't do that. And strep mutans is a very clever, maybe even diabolical bacteria. And if you are on a zero carbohydrate, zero sugar diet, there's some evidence that strep mutans will figure out ways to feed on other components. The key is to try and reduce the amount of strep mutans and reduce the amount of acid in the mouth. Those minerals that form the crystals within the enamel and some of the deeper layers of your tooth, those crystals form through a specific type of bond, and those bonds are very strong. They're not indestructible, but they're tough to pull apart. And the naturally occurring mineral that's responsible for the majority of these bonds in the enamel and teeth is called hydroxyapatite. Fluoride is a substance that is not a vitamin, it's not a mineral, it is not an essential nutrient, but can actually replace some of the hydroxyapatite bonds in teeth and actually make those bonds hyper strong, supraphysiologically strong.
So he's still kind of talking about teeth specifically, but he did mention that overall mouth health is dependent upon acidity, and we're going to get into that in a moment. But what I liked about this is that he talked about how fluoride does help build teeth bonds, but I haven't needed any, and I still refuse to get fluoride because I think it's more detrimental than it is helpful. So let's continue on.
When we say alcohol is not good for oral health and for tooth health, what we're talking about is the disruption that alcohol creates to the microbiome and the way that it alters the pH of your saliva and places the mouth and the teeth into a demineralization state. The second thing on the not good for us list for sake of oral health are stimulants like Adderall, Vyvanse, etc. Basically any drug that increases epinephrine and norepinephrine, adrenaline and noradrenaline, there are the other names for those, are going to have a negative effect on oral health. Why would stimulants cause such disruption in oral health? Well, there are really two reasons. There's a chemical reason and there's a mechanical reason. The chemical reason is that stimulants change the pH of your saliva, making the mouth more acidic, which makes strep mutans and other bacteria more capable of creating cavities down into the teeth. They take your mouth and your teeth from that remineralization state to that demineralization, demon mode. Demon mode. That's a way to remember it's bad. Demon mode. Stimulants encourage mouth breathing. Watch a meth addict or watch somebody who's on a high dose of stimulants and they tend to mouth breathe because of the shifts in autonomic nervous system function. They tend to be mouth breathers. So it's the drying of the mouth that also shifts the mouth from that remineralization mode to demineralization mode. As long as you're not speaking, as long as you're not eating, try and breathe through your nose. If you're exercising really hard, like you're running really hard, fine, mouth breathe. Smoking, cigarettes, and yes, also cannabis. And yes, vaping does this too. It's so funny. Anytime I talk about smoking being bad, people are like, well, what about cannabis? Then people ask, well, what about vaping? Vaping's not as bad as smoking, right? That's what they say. And the truth is that vaping is terrible for your oral health as well. Is it?
I can definitely relate to that because I've done all of those things: smoking cigarettes, smoking cannabis, using vape, even vaping cannabis. Of course, we're going to ask those questions because we realize we don't want to die. We don't want to be unhealthy, but those things are tough to quit. Once you get that nicotine in your system, once you get that cannabis in your system, it calls to you. It makes it very hard to let those things go. And that's been a big part of a lot of my life. Now, I quit a lot of that early on in the Lion diet, simply like cutting out drinking alcohol. For the most part, I was still drinking some alcohol at the beginning, but eventually I quit altogether. And I have had 1 or 2 beers and some wine since then, but it is so rare, it's unbelievable. But I know that people are going to occasionally say, you know what? I know they say red wine is healthy. I know that 1 beer is not going to hurt me. All of these things that he's talking about that have to do with alcohol affecting the way your microbiome works and about how the bacteria in your mouth works could become an issue. Only the reason I say that is the only experience I've had with alcohol in the past over a year now is that at my work, we have to taste some of the new wines so that we can tell people what they taste like. And I usually swish it around, taste it, spit it back into the glass so that way I know how the wine tastes. But I'm putting it in my mouth. We've done several sessions where I've had to try different wines since the beginning of the year. Could this have possibly exacerbated my problem to where when I went back to the dentist this week that they saw something that they didn't see just 4 months ago, something major enough where I have periodontal disease, even though it's a minor case of it? You got a minor amount of bone loss there because as your gum starts to recede, your bone starts to recede to follow the gums. And that's something that can't be reversed. So you definitely don't want to have that happen. And I've had so many bad things happen in my life that can't be reversed. This is just one more. But as I'm finding these things out, and as you follow me for more information, I'm definitely going to share my experiences with you and let you know you've got to take care of your teeth. And something he mentioned earlier about brushing with baking soda is something that I had thought about, but I had heard that it was too abrasive. So hearing him mention that baking soda is a pretty good alternative for toothpaste, I wanted to know more. And we're going to find out some more on that shortly as well.
As bad as smoking? Probably not, but it's bad for a bunch of other reasons. After you eat anything, it's a good idea to try and clear as much of that food product from your mouth. And no one's telling you not to eat acidic foods. It's about limiting the amount of time that the overall milieu of the mouth is acidic. Having a stretch of time of maybe 2, 4, 6 hours or more where you're not eating anything or ingesting anything that's acidic in terms of liquids can be very beneficial. This is a vote in support of so-called intermittent fasting. This is something that I practice. We have an amazing opportunity during the day, especially in the morning and throughout the day, to create a lot of saliva that's the right pH to support remineralization of the teeth, provided that there isn't a lot of food or acidic liquids in the mouth at that time. So at least to my mind, this is an interesting opportunity to place intermittent fasting, which again, or even just gaps between meals, not constantly snacking or sipping on acidic beverages throughout the day, as an opportunity to create that healthy milieu during which the teeth can remineralize and the overall oral health can improve. The vast majority of dentists out there all say the same thing. You need to brush, you need to floss. You need to do it twice a day or more, and you need to do it correctly. Use a soft toothbrush. Very vigorous brushing with medium or hard bristles really disrupts the interface between the teeth and the gums in ways that's not healthy for the gums, and actually makes tenting of the gums and those pockets, those recesses as they're called, far more likely to form. If you are regular with your brushing, and especially if you're brushing and flossing regularly, that a soft toothbrush is going to be the best way to break up that biofilm layer each and every time and promote the best tooth and overall oral health. Likewise, if you use an electric toothbrush, it was recommended that you not provide.
He's going into some stuff on toothbrushes here that I think is quite useful, but I've known this for a while about using soft toothbrushes because it will damage your gums using the medium and hard ones. I don't even know why they make them for that purpose, except for maybe people use them for something other than teeth. I know I use toothbrushes to clean things occasionally, but market them as something else. If they cause people trouble, why do they even bother to make them and provide them as a dental option? I'm not sure. If you got any idea on that, be sure to comment below, because that's something that I don't understand. As for the brushing twice a day thing that he talked about when it comes to a carnivore, it depends on if you eat twice a day, in my opinion, because a lot of us do one meal a day. And as long as you're getting the food out, the remainder of the food out of your mouth when you're done, you shouldn't have any issues where there's going to be buildup. Now, he talked about how brushing needs to remove that film that's on your teeth. That's one of the things that I haven't noticed at all. In over 3 years of eating this way, I haven't had any of that film on my teeth. I used to be able to feel it all the time. If I was at work or at home or waking up in the morning, whatever it was, just lick across the front of your teeth or the back of your teeth and you could feel it's like bumpy surface. That's when I knew. I said, okay, I need to brush my teeth. It's got some stuff on it. And I hate to say that publicly to the whole world like this, but I know there's a lot of us who do that. And I'm just trying to tell you, you got to stop. You got to take better care of your teeth, because just the cleaning to get this periodontal thing done cost me over $400. I'm trying to save you guys some money and some heartache. Trust me here. And I did used to use an electric toothbrush. I've only used a soft toothbrush for quite some time now, but my electric toothbrush, one of the things I learned was what he's going to talk about here. And I'll go ahead and make sure you guys take a look at that, because if you do have an electric toothbrush, you got to protect your gums. This whole video for me is really focusing on gums, but because I know some people are eating things off the diet that they shouldn't be eating, or they're adding some sugar occasionally, you got to pay attention to the part about the cavities, because it can really get back to you.
Too much pressure, that you really try and keep the tips of the bristles on the teeth and gums. And yes, it was also suggested that people brush their gums. This is interesting. For people out there who have tooth sensitivity, one of the major suggestions from people in the dental and periodontal field was to actually brush your gums lightly to increase circulation of blood and other nutrients to the deeper portions of the tooth that actually extend into the bone. You need to floss correctly. You can't just pull the floss down onto the gum in between the tooth. You need to glide down the side of the tooth, get a little bit underneath the gum, and use a circular motion, and then lift up from between the two teeth. Almost all of them, except for one, felt that flossing is a great idea for tooth health, and that if your gums bleed when you floss correctly, as I just described what correct flossing is, that your best strategy is to floss at least twice a day between all of your teeth.
That's something I've been doing for quite some time. I floss between all my teeth every time I eat a meal, because I have so many crowns and I have some teeth problems. So the meat gets stuck in there very easily, and I always get it out. So to me, it's kind of amazing that I've been able to go this long without any issues with my gums or teeth, only to find out recently that I'm having the gum issue. After talking to my dentist, though, I did discover that there are some things that could be affecting my mouth. Even in the long term, it's just maybe not affecting them as much as I thought. And it also was easy to go under the radar. The dentist said that, yeah, we can miss these things. You may not have any bleeding gums, which I didn't have any bleeding gums that I was aware of. Even when I would floss, I didn't get bloody gums. Every once in a while I would, and I'd be like, what's that about? And then it would go away. And I thought, well, I guess I don't have, whatever it was temporary. Maybe it was something, a temporary infection of something else in my body. So it was easy to ignore. That's why I want to be able to tell you how to take care of these things. When I was talking to the nurse, this picture that I'm about to show you here ties into what Dr. Huberman was talking about when it comes to drinking liquids that are going to be good for your mouth's pH. And she was talking about water. And I thought, how different can water be? And I told her I pretty much drink club soda almost exclusively. I do drink water, but I drink a lot of club soda. And she mentioned that that was acidic. And I thought, it is? Trust me, guys, I'm not an expert on acidic and base and all that stuff. When it came to science class and chemistry and biology, I did not do well in school. So I don't get a lot of this stuff. But as I learn, I want to be able to share this information with you. What I found interesting was the pH of something like Evian was 7.6. So it falls in the 8 scale here. But the pH of something like Dasani or Propel or vitamin water are all in that 3 range, which puts them very high on the acidic side of the scale. And then even Aquafina and Perrier. Perrier was one of my big go-tos at 5.5. The pH moves a little bit more toward the acidic. You've even got Poland Spring and Deer Park, Smart Water, Crystal Geyser, all in that 5 range, 5 to 6 range. Even tap water is a 7 range. And then you got Fiji water and Arrowhead in that same area. But then you start to move more to the base side and you get into things like Crystal Geyser, Evian, and one that's actually affordable, Zephyr Hills. And it's local if you live here in Florida like I do. And then you got a couple other ones that I haven't heard about. Well, they didn't put one of the drinks that I drink the most on here, which is club soda. So I thought I would go in and see if I could find out what the acidity level of my club soda is. Let's take a look. So I just did a DuckDuckGo search for the club soda that I drink most often. And let's see what we got here. pH of beverages available to the American consumer. National Institute of Health. So that's interesting. That might actually have a definitive list. Let's take a look and see. Wow. Wow, this has everything. This has all kind of drinks on here. So, a lot of stuff that we're not even going to be doing on a carnivore diet. Let's see if I can't. I'm going to do a search on the page here and see if I can't find Publix. Not in there. Let's just try club soda. All right, Canada Dry Club Soda has 5.24 plus or minus 0.03. So that puts it in the acidic water area. All right, there you go. One good reason to leave the club soda off the list. Or at least reduce the intake, in my case. Very interesting. But you should be able to go to this website here, and I'll put a link for the website in the description. So if you want to check the acidity level of the things that you drink, on a carnivore way of eating, and especially on my way of eating, which is lion diet, which is a very specific carnivore way of eating where I only eat meat from ruminant animals, I drink water and club soda or something along that line, and salt. Those are the 3 things that I consume when I'm sticking with my diet that has worked for me the best. So what you drink is at least a third of the importance of what you're putting in your body. It's a third of the total content. And if you're trying to make sure you're taking care of your teeth as well as the rest of your body, getting that acidity out of your liquid is going to be an important thing. So this is going to take some work on my part because I've got a whole pantry full of club soda back there. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it right this moment. But I know, as a matter of fact, I got some right here too. I'm going to have to cut back down. I'm going to have to cut down on that acidity if I want to be able to take care of my teeth better. I love that my teeth are great. I got to take care of my gums now too. I mean, I'm doing this for overall health. All right, let's get back to the video. Getting back to nature. Something Katie and I like to do when we get a chance is to go out camping or just to go out into the wild. And we also like to prepare for the worst. And the ITEAL portable water filtration system allows us to be able to do both. With its double activated carbon and reverse osmosis membranes, it can remove bacteria, viruses, parasites, heavy metals, pesticides, polyvinyl chloride, PFAs, and more. It has dual hoses, one for wash water and one for drinking water. You can always spot the one for drinking water. It's got the little white tip on the end, and it comes out clean as a whistle. Separate your hoses into 2 separate bottles, and you've got a way to have your wash water and your drinking water ready to go at all times. Thanks to its built-in 6,000 milliamp hour backup batteries that are rechargeable, it takes 3 hours to fully charge it, and it can purify a maximum of 9 gallons of water at a time. This is equivalent to meeting the water needs of 13 adults when they live in the outdoors for one day. Pair this device with ITEAL's 100-watt portable solar panel and a few extra filters, and you could stay in the wild almost indefinitely. Katie and I are very comforted by the idea that we can have clean water anytime thanks to the ITEAL water purification system. Just tastes clean to me.
It tastes like water. Well, obviously it tastes like water. It doesn't taste like swamp water, I guess. Tastes good. This is good to have as an emergency backup or just to have on camping trips. I love this thing. I think this thing is awesome.
And if you use my link in the description with my coupon code, you'll save $40 off this must-have device. I love it, Katie loves it, and I know you'll love it too.
Xylitol is a very low-calorie sweetener. I can place it among the other low-calorie sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, stevia, etc. But what's unique about xylitol is that very much like standard sugar or any kind of carbohydrate sugar, the bacteria Streptococcus mutans loves to eat xylitol. But when Streptococcus mutans eats xylitol, it cannot produce the acid that normally would demineralize the teeth and create cavities. In addition to that, when Streptococcus mutans eats xylitol, it kills Streptococcus mutans. So what this means is that if xylitol is present in the oral cavity after a meal, say in the minutes and hours after a meal, then any strep mutans that happens to be there is going to preferentially feed on the xylitol, not other sugars, and it won't be able to release acid. And because xylitol can actually inhibit the growth, and that is the proliferation of more strep mutans, we've got a twofer. We've got a situation where strep mutans can't release acid to demineralize the teeth and potentially cause cavities, and the total amount of strep mutans that can grow, that can proliferate in what are called colonies. Literally, the bacteria colonizes on the teeth and that forming that biofilm. Well, then that can't happen.
All right. Well, that's interesting that you can get something that toothpaste that uses xylitol. The problem I have with that, I'm going to stick with baking soda for now, and I'm just going to get to where I'm brushing after I eat so that I can better take care of my gums and see. And because I've gotten to the point that I have periodontal disease, even though it's a minor case, I have to go back in 3 months, and they're going to do a follow-up with me, and then I'm going to have to go back in 3 months again, depending on how that one goes. And I'm hoping it's going to be great. And I anticipate that it will be, because I do things that are good for my teeth, and I'm going to make these changes as well. But I just want to make sure that you guys get the full information. And I think, every time I've mentioned in those past videos that I don't brush regularly, it wasn't something I was proud of, but I had to tell you the truth because I was just impressed with how clean my teeth felt all the time. But it doesn't mean you can go without brushing your teeth. You do want to be careful what you use to brush your teeth with, though. And segueing out of that, mouthwash and alcohol. This is another area. All my life, I have kept a bottle of Listerine around because every once in a while, let's say I eat something that's sugary. I figured maybe I'll brush my teeth and then I'm going to wash it out to make sure I kill any bacteria that's in there because I know that it uses an alcohol base. I had no idea that it was causing damage. Let's take a look and see what that's about.
Most all mouthwashes, especially those containing alcohol, are terrible for oral health. Simply put, they deplete certain components of the mucosal lining of the mouth, and they disrupt the healthy components of the oral microbiome. In addition, there are antiseptic mouthwashes, some of which contain alcohol, some of which don't. Most people, however, are using mouthwashes to freshen their breath and to kill off additional bacteria in the mouth that they might believe they couldn't get with brushing or flossing. If you are somebody who really wants to use a mouthwash for that reason, I encourage you to try and find a mouthwash that is not alcohol-based and that is not a strong antiseptic, or that if it is an antiseptic, that it's not alcohol-based.
One more thing on that is I have another photo here. This was given to me by my dentist. This particular mouthwash is called Closis. I think it is Closis. And it's unflavored, non-burning, alcohol-free, gentle pH balanced, soothes mouth and freshens breath. I don't know how expensive this is, and I don't even know if I can get a link for it. It might be something you have to get from the dentist. But if there is a link, I will have it in the description. Everyone knows the mouth is delicate, so ingredients make all the difference. Alcohol burns and dries. Sulfates irritate. Closis took a different path. Keep it gentle yet effective, and people will use it long enough to make a difference. Let's see if we have the ingredients for Closis. The only problem I would have with this, and I'm willing to bet Listerine's the same, is it does have sodium fluoride as an active ingredient. Inactive ingredients include water hydrated silica, stabilized chlorine dioxide, sarcosal, coconut derived, disodium hydrogen phosphate, cellulose gum, titanium dioxide, peppermint oil, sodium dihydrogen phosphate, sucralose. Why does it have to be sweet? That doesn't make any sense to me. Menthol crystals. Well, it's not necessarily the one for me, but I wanted to let you know what my dentist had suggested for a mouthwash to replace something like Listerine. I think I'm just going to try to find a way to go without the mouthwash. I do have a water pick. That's something I certainly recommend. A lot of times it's a lot better at getting the meat out from between your teeth than even better than one of those twin dental floss picks like I use all the time. The water pick is fantastic. All right, let's get back to what he was saying here. Let me back up just a little bit so I can see where we... Baking soda, hydrogen peroxide, and salt water. Ooh, salt water. Yeah, I didn't even remember him talking about that. We'll get to that one in a minute. This is great.
I talked to several dentists, and they told me that baking soda actually is fairly low on the abrasiveness rating scale. It's actually considered quite safe for the enamel of the teeth, especially if you're brushing with a soft toothbrush and you're not like really grinding the stuff against your teeth. So it turns out that baking soda and water is actually a pretty good toothpaste if you're not going to go buy a toothpaste. It's pretty clear that hydrogen peroxide, unless there's a specific medical recommendation to do so, is not something you want to introduce to the oral cavity. Hydrogen peroxide is just far too abrasive for the mouth cavity. It does seem that creating a high salt solution, okay, so taking some salt, putting it into water, dissolving it, and then finding the point at which it won't quite dissolve because the concentration of sodium is just high enough, and using that as, of course, not something to swallow, but rather as a dental rinse. So putting it in your mouth and swishing it around and then spitting it out, and it's going to taste very salty. And then taking a swig of water, just plain water, and then swishing it around and then spitting it out. That actually provides a really nice milieu for the production of healthy mouth bacteria. But again, I want to be very clear. Do not swallow high salt concentration fluid. We're talking about a swish and then a spitting it out.
All right, so that was interesting to me because one of the things that was a big part of the first 2 years on my way of eating was I salted not only my food, but I salted all of my drinks too. My third year, I started to reduce the amount because I realized that I was getting to a point where my body didn't crave those electrolytes like it used to, and I would have energy even without the extra salt. So I haven't been salting my drinks as much as I used to over the past year, and even more so over the past 4 months, because I've been trying to figure out what's going on with this issue that I mentioned back in January that I thought was related to the thyroid, and my doctor has since been able to say, your thyroid is fine. We did the whole full thyroid panel on that. I'm no longer on any medication again. I did try levothyroxine for a little while, and it made my life miserable. Even though one of the side effects I don't think was drowsiness, I was so fatigued all the time that it was just terrible for me. So I was glad to be able to get off of that. But perhaps drinking the salted water as much as I did had a big effect on keeping my teeth as strong as they were for so long. Again, something I don't know for sure, and I'm still experimenting on the salt feature. I still love my Redmond salt. Don't get me wrong. I put Redmond salt on all my meat. I still love Redmond smoked salt too. And I have found that it doesn't really matter for my body's concerns whether I'm eating smoked salt or regular salt, because I've gone over a month without smoked salt and didn't notice any difference at all. At least that's as far as I've been able to tell so far. But what he's talking about here is basically what I talk about when I make Soleil water. Soleil water, I have a whole video on Soleil water. I'll put a link to that in the description as well so that you can see about Soleil water. But then you could just take a little scoop and swish with that if you ever wanted to, so that you could do exactly what he's talking about here and promote that good mouth bacteria. And for all the people who have been telling me that salt is not a part of the diet, like animals don't go around looking for salt, lions don't go around looking for salt, I don't think you've been paying attention to the animals that I've been paying attention to. But when I want animals to come around, especially mammals, I can put a salt lick out there and I'll get a ton of different animals coming to lick off of it. That's because they know salt is important. And certain animals need it even more than others. There's a certain type of mountain goat that'll climb ridiculously high areas. They'll climb up on dams and bridges so that they can get to the salt that leaks through the dam. It's really amazing what we will do for salt and how important it really is. And I had no idea what a role it played in dental health until I saw this.
Every 6 months. That's the general recommendation. This business of going to the dentist twice a year makes sense from the perspective of quote unquote routine cleanings. But everyone acknowledged that those routine cleanings, while they can remove tartar that's built up, that would be very, very difficult for people to reverse or eliminate at home. And while they can identify cavities and tell you how far a cavity has developed into the tooth, etc., every one of those dentists agreed that those routine cleanings are not actually going to help remineralize your teeth, except to the extent that they remove existing bacteria, plaque, and tartar. And so all of them said that they wish for and that they really strive in their own practices to promote more oral health daily protocols of the sort that we've talked about today, which I think is just great.
And going to that idea too is that I haven't had a cleaning since 2022. So here it is, May 2024, and I've just had my first cleaning at the dentist in over 2 years. Or around 2 years, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly when in 2022 I went, but I did see the dentist several times, so it didn't even dawn on me that anything could be wrong. But she did mention that if they're not doing a deeper cleaning where they check underneath the gums, where they look to see what's going on with bone loss and things like that, these things can get missed really easy. So you don't want to skip those dental cleanings. You know, the only insurance that I currently have for as far as medical dental vision, I only have dental coverage because I do want to take care of my teeth. My teeth are an important part of my carnivore diet. If I don't have my teeth, how am I going to chew my ribeyes? And I want you to be able to have your teeth and be strong for a long time to come so you can eat plenty of steak, stay healthy, enjoy your life, enjoy your family, and be a part of what we're doing here in the carnivore community. Getting people healthy, getting people happy, getting people stronger, bringing families together, bringing the country together, bringing the world together in a lot of ways. I know it seems like I'm saying that this is a lot more than it is, but honestly, if we're not healthy, if we're not strong, if we're not ready for what our day has to offer, how are we going to be ready when evil comes? Whether it's something on a small scale or on a large scale, being healthy, happy, and strong is going to make us all better and ready to deal with the things that are going to come up in our lives. And for all of us who have been through what we've been through in the last 3.5 years, I think we all know that evil is on the march. And we got to be strong and we got to be ready. And dental care is an important part of that. I know I say that with a big smile, but it is, just like the rest of your healthcare is. And I want you guys to be healthy and happy right there alongside me as we go down this route together. Well, that's all I got for this one, guys. Stick around for a quick advertisement from one of my affiliates, and I will see you next time.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?